Welcome to the Command Post podcast, where leaders discuss winning strategies for the military and veteran community. I'm your host, Philip Holm. Every episode, we sit down with the leaders who have been in the thick of it to break down the strategies the military and veteran community need to win at home, in business, and in life. Comms are live. Let's get to work. All right. Welcome, everybody. Today, I'm really excited to introduce you to Brian Cook. Brian Cook is a soldier, a strategist, and author who led teams across 5 combat tours from Desert Storm to Afghanistan. He spent 33 years serving in some of the most consequential environments on Earth. He's a West Point graduate with advanced degrees from the Naval War College and Carnegie Mellon University. He taught theater strategy at the Army War College. He led Army Futures Command's first ever campaign planning effort, and he spoke at South by Southwest. His national security writing has been published twice in expeditions with the Marine Corps University Press. He's also a certified heroic coach. So I just wanted to give that brief introduction to our listeners who may not know you, Brian, but, I remember meeting you back in corporate America and being really impressed by how you thought through different problems and opportunities, your deep understanding of how you approach these things from a strategic perspective. So I was really excited to hear you were writing a book and, wanted to get you on here to talk about Set Your Table. But I'd love just to, hear a little bit about you, what your background is, and get a little bit more in-depth detail to kind of whet the listener's appetite, if you will.
Awesome.
So if it's all right with you, I just thought a good place to start is just a brief background of your military experience. You mind jumping into that?
Yeah. You covered a lot of it, so I won't go over, 33 years. But, how does a young kid from California end up becoming a colonel in the United States Army? It was a journey, right? I was a tanker. I fought in Desert Storm as my very first field problem. So think about being 23 and going to combat with 15 soldiers and 4 M1 tanks and fighting the Iraqis. Quite an experience for a young man. And quite frankly, the successes and failures there set me up for success. A lot of stuff that I later fall back on, especially when writing the book. 33 years, we covered most of it. A lot of time downrange, a lot of time at our academic institutions, taught at the Army War College. Spent some time up the Navy's War College in Newport. And then I retired, and we'll probably get into why I retired later, but it was like a cliff. Like one day you're a colonel, and the next day we used to call them DNCs, dirty, nasty contractors. And boom, you're in corporate America, and you better figure it out because there are people out there. And so what I figured out was the battlefield had just changed. It was just different. You had to figure it out. And now, of course, I'm writing and speaking full time and consulting, helping run a company. So keeping my feet moving, as we like to say.
Yeah. That's an incredible background. I can relate to some of what you're talking about with the just like, hey, congratulations, figure it out now. I did, I just geek out about certain things though. And so I want to get to your book here, but tank commander, that's gotta be a really cool job. What was that like leading a platoon of tanks in combat? That's wow.
Yeah. Well, of course, clarifying and terrifying at the same moment. There's nothing you could do to prepare when you get there. You better have your stuff on right. I was a plug and play lieutenant. I showed up on the 22nd of December, 1990 to my tank platoon. And we flew on the 8th of January. Think about that.
Wow.
All of my soldiers like, who is this dude? I've never seen him before. Some West Point graduate, probably thinks he's full of it, all that. But the nicety about being a tank platoon leader is you have to be a good tactician. And I had trained to do that. I went to one of the best schools in the world to do that. And you have to think about what's the next 30 seconds you got to get right over and over and over and over again. It's actually a really good lesson. If you do that in life with consistency, you're going to hit a lottery, right? You're going to just be hyper successful. And then the other part is I got the benefit of learning the lesson that calmness in high consequence battle is a huge value. I had a guy named Mike Formica, who was my XO, he used to say, calm, cool, and collected will win the day. And so a lot of us had 3 C's written on our tank cupolas on the inside. Because when things start going crazy and everyone hyperventilating, if you can sit back and go, okay, here's what we're going to do next, guys. They hear that, and it's like, wow, here we go. But yeah, I was really happy to have the mental and tactical muscles already built to succeed when I got there. But yeah, exciting time and a dream. Like most young boys, I was, playing in my backyard war games, and to actually live it was a magical moment.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. I often think about a person's personal disposition, right? The ability to be calm, cool, and collected, to be thinking about that next step in advance as a requirement. I'm trying to remember this saying, but it's basically like, hey, just because this is a requirement doesn't mean it's sufficient for the whole picture, right?
Yeah.
And so when I heard you describe that, I'm like, okay, I get it. He's got the personality to lead. He's got like the aptitudes and abilities to lead, right? But that doesn't mean you're going to be a great strategist. That doesn't mean you're going to be a great operational thinker, right? And so I
Yeah.
kind of wanted to get your take on like that next portion of your journey, when it came to operations and strategy, and what you learned there from your time in the military.
Yeah. Jeez. So it was about mid-range of my career. I'm a major. I'm out in the National Training Center in the Mojave Desert, and boss hands me this book. It's called the Landmark Thucydides. I can't even say it hardly. It's like really hard, and it's even written weird. Like the pages aren't pages; they're small chapters within chapters. Thucydides was this famous theorist, and he goes, "Read this and understand it." And it's a very hard read. But really, the takeaway is we go to war for 3 reasons: fear, honor, and interest. Right?
Yeah.
And if you can figure out who owns those 3 things, owns the wielding of fear, honor, and interest, you can figure out who drives a nation to war. Wow. And that was one of those ones where I went, wait a second, I've been doing all this. Like I write in my book, I learned very quickly, right? Here's what you need to do if you're a tactical leader in the Army. Get in the job, learn everything you can, teach it to somebody else, and tell them when they're doing it right or wrong. That's it. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, and you're going to be tactically excellent. The problem is those are just missions. Missions lead to operational success, and operational success can lead to strategic success. But they have to play on each other like virtuous cycles. And when I realized in that book, like, oh my gosh, here's operational success driving a strategic outcome. That was one of those moments where I was like, oh man, I have been missing it. Like I've read it. Look, you can't go through West Point and not read some Clausewitz, but that doesn't mean you don't take it in and you don't understand it. And then when you can actually do it, right? Like what we did at Army Futures Command, we did a 7-year plan. Think about that. Think about 7 years from now, we'll be on the other side of AI. We'll be on the other side of quantum. How will we fight battles?
Oh man.
Right. So instead of fighting today with today's tech and today's stuff, think about our kids in day school right now. What do those kids grow up to be like? They are digital nomads, and they'll talk about entanglement and superposition, the quantum pieces, right? Like it's nothing. Like it's and anybody like me, like I had to go study, as you know, right? We had to go study what quantum meant. So I think that was probably one of the bigger points. And then to be someone like, and I absolutely thank you for the compliment of having the basis, the foundation to be a good leader.
Yeah.
But then to be able to write and think and speak to people in that operational strategic realm and add value to our army and our nation, later to NATO. It's just treasurable moments, man. I mean, you get to live history in the DoD, right? And most people don't get it, but when you look back, you're like, oh my gosh. I mean,
Yeah.
my tank was the coordination point, Phil, for the Iraqi generals to come meet Schwarzkopf. My tank. They walked
Wow.
right next to my tank to go meet Schwarzkopf, who was standing right behind my tank. I was
That's
like,
just giving me chills, man.
you can't make that stuff up. Right?
That's wild. You know, when I hear you talk about, right, like fear, honor, and interest, I think about how complicated that is, right? You know, you can have one or two of those things and still lose a battle, right? You can still lose the campaign. But I do think, you know, when I look at corporate America, investing, things like that, interest, right, seems to be the primary
Right.
motivator. And so I wonder to myself, you know, like when you made that jump from corporate or to corporate America from the military, how did those frameworks, when you thought about strategy and kind of winning the day, maybe change, and maybe like what stayed the same?
Yeah, that's a great question. The first of all is super disorienting because you go up and quite frankly we cheat a lot in the military because I think as Truman said, if there's anything you don't understand, you haven't read enough history.
Mm,
And look, there's a rhyme in this thing. So a lot of times when you're on a battlefield, you just saw another, like especially when I was a colonel, right? I'd had so many reps. It's just, oh, I'm here at the National Training Center again. What could go wrong? What could go right? My head's already spinning as I'm driving out to the desert. In corporate America, it was disorienting because I'd never been in the boardroom. Oh, by the way, we're in the pandemic, so we're standing behind our computers like this, right? Remember
yeah.
that? And I'm like, what? Um, but then, if you go back to what makes you great and know when you know how to do what you do is to your boundaries, your non-negotiables, how to strategically win. And
Hmm.
so what I had to do is go back and gain clarity about who we were at IBM. Like I love the IBM way. I pulled that thing off the shelf and like, whoa, okay, that's it. Like that's strategic guidance for the company, right? The challenge was I just didn't feel like myself. Like I was doing, like I had it's like I had the title, I had the ducats, right? And they're paying me well enough. I had the relationships to do the job. And I came up empty like week after week after week after week. And you go, why is this not making sense? And
Yeah.
that leads to why the book comes about.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, that resonates with me a lot because for me, when I was there, you know, working in the same organization as you, I thought to myself, I've got somebody's dream job, but it's not my dream job.
That's
You know?
right.
Um, let's use that as a good place to like segue into
Yeah.
the book, right? So when I was thinking about you know, hey, what questions do I want to ask Brian about set your table? I I wanted to kind of start with like, all right, you know, I hear people say they just don't understand, you know, how things end up the way they did or how we got to where we are. And I think I see that more and more these days where people just have this sense of like, I'm not in control of my life or I've lost control of my life. Things aren't working out the way I hoped for. You know, like what's your take on that? How do people get into that loop? Like why does that happen, do you think?
Well, first of all, I think it's the truth of our lives. Like the weird thing that the good Lord created is our brain that always will want more. And we've created all these systems that are rewarding uh, outcomes. And so it's reinforcing what a human doing is. But a human being is what we are. And so when you get to the point where you can recognize that you've built this life or work life and it just doesn't make sense. You're in a place where you're I call it the freedom gap, right? It's the gap between who you are and who you want to be. And
Oh,
in that gap is your freedom, right? The challenge is nobody has well, very few places have told us you're a valuable, vital person in the world because who you are, you're a being. And so what
mhm.
I teach people to do is go back to your values. Find your top 5 values, a very easy way to do that. And then once you have your values, build yourself a network of people that also have those values and don't have those values, by the way. Let's have some diversity. And then find a place where you can put those in action. Like one of my top value is perseverance. What do authors need?
uh,
Perseverance. You got to
yeah,
show up every day for your book. It just is. It's the truth, right? And
yeah,
so, and you can find a place where you're valuable for your values. You're winning every day you show up. So that's where I think we're really missing. We've created all these structures where meaning doesn't matter.
yeah.
And as long as that's true, you're going to come up empty, because I mean, if you don't set your table, someone else will, and you're going to get somebody else's food, maybe not enough, maybe too much, right? Maybe some
Yeah.
really odd tasting drinks. Like, oh, wait a second, I want to eat what I want to eat. So that's where
Yeah.
I head with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. When I was in graduate school, we did a handful of strategy classes, and one of the things that was like really enlightening to me and kind of a light bulb moment was this idea of systems and
Mm,
systems that like interplay with each other, like either mutually reinforcing or conflicting, and then like are they tightly coupled or are they loosely coupled systems? And so I was curious to get your take on like, hey, what are some good, positive, mutually reinforcing systems that build off of this foundation of like understand yourself first
right.
and then identify these systems that work.
Yep. So it's interesting. So the book is a system of systems.
Oh,
Actually, all
okay.
books are a system of systems. If you want to get really cool, like geek out on writing, but you
All
have a
right.
tension statement that says, "I know something you don't,"
Hmm.
and what I say is, it's not about the hustle. If you're in the hustle factory, you're going to come up empty. I'm just going to tell you, unless you get supremely lucky, like everybody, you know, every broken clock is right twice a day, right?
Yeah.
So don't fall in love with a place that you're not in love with. But like inside the book, there are systems here. So first of all, values, right? Treasure your values. Once you treasure your values and you know where you're headed, you know what your freedom gap looks like. Go into that by building foundations that work, whether you're ready or not.
Hmm.
Like you're a runner, right? So you like to run on occasion now, maybe not as much as before. But
Well,
when I hated
yeah.
running, you know what I would
Yeah.
do every morning, every night before I went to bed? I put my shoes right at the end of my bed with my
Hmm.
shorts and my shirt right there. So I'd actually like trip on them to get out my door to do something else. And that moment, you're going to put those shoes on and go. So create systems.
Hmm.
It's actually 4 big systems: eat, move, sleep, and breathe. Those are my big 4 foundations, right? And those are physicalities, right? You get to feel that if you do it right. And then that I build upon that with 3 things that really matter to me: mindset,
Hmm.
grit,
Hmm.
and relationships.
Love it.
Right. And so again, you could take them individually and spin a virtuous cycle and you'll get, if you don't have some now, build some more and it'll get you more. But when they pull together as a complicated system of systems, your surface area of luck that you're going to pull off something really good just increases over time.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. I actually do something similar to what you described with the running.
Yeah.
So I've got my pajamas in a drawer next to the bed, but on that nightstand, I've got a basket with my workout clothes in it.
Yeah.
So it's literally easier for me to reach the clothes on top of the dresser than to pull out the drawer as just like a little trigger, if you will, a little reminder like, hey Phil, you should probably go work out instead of just immediately putting on some pajamas.
Yeah. Yeah. The challenge here, though, Phil, is this. Don't fall in love. I mean, I love Atomic Habits, and don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
habits are the way you get to excellence, but don't
Yep.
fall in love with just creating a habit to create another one.
Oh yeah.
And I have found, and I don't know why this is, for me, it's 7 or more. I have 7 steps for every morning. And one of them is, it's kind of silly, feed my pets.
Oh
But
yeah.
I get gratitude after, my dog and my Siamese cat get their food. I get gratitude out of that.
I
But
love it.
I wake, I meditate, I pray, I make my bed, I feed my pets, I do some yoga, I jump in the cold plunge
All right. All right.
for
That's
2 minutes and 45 seconds this morning at 53 degrees. By the way, that's the place where my feet start hurting.
yeah.
You know that place where you
Yeah.
put your feet in, like, yeah.
Oh man. That'll
But
get the day
again, I
started.
think there's the hustle factory makes this into something that's eloquent because it isn't. Right?
Mm.
Don't do that. Don't fall in love with the hustle. Fall in love with what it gives you back. Right?
Mm.
And whether it's journal, whatever those steps are, know why you're doing them. Don't just do them because some guru told you to do them. It's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm hearing you straight, like, hey, you've got the trigger for the system, that's all well and good, but know what the output is that feeds you, right?
Right.
And be in search of that. Like that's
Right.
what you need is that
Absolutely.
nourishment on the back end.
Right.
Okay. Good. All right. So those are like some positive systems. In my line of work, I encounter people all the time with we'll call it less than ideal systems that they,
Yeah.
that they've
We've been
fallen
there.
into. Yeah. Do you see any like commonalities or any examples of just like some negative systems that people maybe accidentally fall into?
Yeah. Well, geez, we could do this just as a podcast, right?
Yeah.
Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. That's Sun Tzu, one of my favorites, right?
Oh,
So think
wow.
about that. What I found in corporate America was there was no incentive to go think deeply and think strategically.
Hmm.
And as a result, we didn't even do things like think in systems, think in time, right?
Mhm.
And if you can't pull away and detach for a little bit, sometimes you're just running to run, right? You just cause. And when you get to that point, and you hear it in corporate America all the time, why do you do it? That's how we always done it. Okay, you might want to figure out that why, right? And so what I'm really I learned what strategy looks like when it's missing.
Mm.
And what I didn't know was the Army. The Army and the DoD always has a strategy mixed in. It's like, by the way, it's congressionally, it's mandated. You can't have a country without a national security strategy in America. And so the nice thing there is that we are never without the strategy. What do you do in order to have that grand shared understanding of that strategy and apply it is the challenge inside of most of the companies that I've worked for.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the challenge. I think the C-suite executives out there, the leaders, are so uncomfortable with strategy they don't want to go get some. Because they don't want to show to their underlings that they're not strategic thinkers. Look, that's exactly what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerability, especially in deep thinking, is highly valuable to your youngins, to your subordinates, because that's how you teach them to be strategic thinkers and think out of the box and be courageous and open mindseted people. It's all there. And I worked for more than a couple of CEOs where I've said, this is, or leaders, this is the strategy I'm seeing. That's all I do is I just pull it apart and say, this is, I think, what we're doing, and this is where we're headed. If you'd like to head somewhere different than that, we've got to change the strategy, the operations, and the tasks within the operations. We can fix that. And more often than not, they say, Brian, that's nice. We're not doing that today. And you're like,
Really?
great. And I now I'm biased. I love this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, I have strategy books right here on my desk. Like when I get bored, I'll just pull up a strategy book and I'll learn something new or something I'd read before that doesn't makes good sense now. So I think that's the biggest thing that's hindering people is that vulnerability that, by the way, leads to psychological safety in your workforce. That
Mm,
vulnerability to think past, let's just do it past 2026. What
yeah.
happens in January 2027? What's that look like for your business, for your family, for your community? How valuable would you be as a person if you could help figure that out?
Yeah.
It's just, it's under my skin, of course. I had to write a book to fix it.
I love it. I love it. So that makes me think, just riffing off of what you said for a second. I find that a lot of people, when they approach like a strategic question, they have a tendency to believe that they can have everything, right? And my understanding of strategy is like, no, strategy is about specifically choosing what your limitations are going to be in a world of finite resources so that you can get that outcome that is fulfilling and beneficial to you. And sometimes that means stripping out a lot of the bells and whistles and fun things that you'd like to have.
Right.
And so when I hear you say that, that's kind of like where my mind goes. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah. The through line of a great strategy is a shared understanding. And you can pull out the pieces of a shared understanding, like you want to know your enemy or the enemies. But really, when you come to it, it's a recipe, right? It's the end state you want to create, the ways and the means to get there, right? And then the risk you're willing to take,
Yeah.
right? And that risk is, it could be as big and burly as you want it to be or not. And when you start talking about it, you have to understand that the resources you'll never have enough to achieve your ends. So you got to set up decisions that say when the resources get tight, here's, the first guy we ditch is Brian Cook, or whatever, it's,
Yeah.
it's that exactly like the first thing we stop, it's buying is extra beer. Okay. That makes sense, right? We need bread and water and all these other things, kind of pandemic planning there. But, in the end, once you create that, you have to have a shared understanding across a team that says,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I got that." That way, a well-laid strategy allows a team to maneuver independently, right? As a team, like you can
Yeah.
still have, a combat arms division at stride. You have a big strategy and a big campaign plan. They're just going to go after it. And you don't have to be in the back of every lieutenant's head. He already knows. And the captain knows, and the major knows, and the lieutenant colonels know, and the colonels know, and the generals know. It all works. Oh, by the way, the NCOs know, who will tell us when we're jacking it up, which is beautiful. I think it's what they do best. But yeah, it's very interesting. I think you're right on top of that. That's a nice way to pull it through.
So, one of the things that I'm thinking about, like, as you say this, is like, hey, you got to have the shared vision, a shared understanding of that vision. And I've seen that fall apart in corporate America. I saw it fall apart in the military sometimes, right?
Right.
I've seen that happen in people's relationships, their personal relationships. And I kind of think about it as like, if people have different end states in mind, they have a tendency to like try to row the boat in two different directions at the same time, which
Right.
just creates an incredible amount of inefficiency and ineffectiveness. And so that leads to my question, which is like, okay, how do you ensure that shared understanding gets populated into the group or the couple or whatever, or maybe even sometimes in my own head I've got
Right.
competing ideas, right?
Absolutely. And you're allowed
Yeah.
to have it.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back first. You're allowed to think two competing thoughts at the same time.
Yeah.
We're allowed to have a conversation where there's an honest, logical disagreement. It
Mm-hmm.
happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just happens everywhere in the world. Go try to put oil and water together. Come on. So that's the one thing we have to be very clear on, that everything has a competition for it. So if you are in a couple or you're in a team and there are divergent ideas, they don't have to be at odds. They can be an and. And that's where I'd start. I'd start with the clarity that it's not an either or until somewhere in the strategy it says we do have to make a pick. But let's start. Let's just have the clarity. I want to do X. She wants to do Y. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
X and Y together are more powerful than X or Y. So that's where I start with clarity, and then have that conversation about why that is important to you. Not just that you want to go to Rome in May, but why do you want to go to Rome? Why is that important to you? I'm a Catholic. I want to see the Pope. Whatever it is, right? Powerful stuff. Oh, everybody's desires have a why behind it, right? And then I go back to strengths, right? Find your strengths, build a strategy around your strengths once you have that clarity, and go together. You want to go fast? It's an African quote, right? You want to go fast? Go it alone. You want to go far? You better have a team, right? And so if you can't work in a team, you got to ask yourself, like, why is it that my ego is in front of all these other people's desires and needs, right? And I've had that conversation, especially after, one day you're a colonel, next day you're a contractor, right? But it's really tough. And then execution is essential, right? Whenever you execute something, you put energy into a system. We talked about systems thinking earlier. Things will happen that you didn't account for. And they're not mistakes. It's just the universe pushing back on you. And look, it's going to happen, period, full stop. It happens every day with me. I headed to do this podcast and I couldn't find my keys to my office. I'm like, what the? It's just the universe. But know that in that system thinking, when it pushes back at you, it's not the fault of those other people. It's just a force of the universe, especially in specifically in complex situations. You can't even tell what came at you, right? Where did it come from? But it's going to be there. So you're going to have to, as you used to say in the Army, frago, right? We have to change as we're doing something.
Yeah.
And your ability to change for any team, your ability to step up and change with strength is an absolute value. So be that person. Why do you not want to be that person, right?
Yeah.
Well, it might just be your ego if you don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
Just a warning there.
It's a challenge that I've had and I have every day, right? It's like, am I doing this for my ego or am I doing this to help with the common good? And sometimes the answer is both, right? And
it can be both.
Yeah.
That's what set your table at the end. I thought it was going to be a book about boundaries, but it's really about how to feel best about yourself while you achieve your best self.
Yeah.
You can have both. It's okay. Now, don't confuse that with doing nefarious thing and putting people under your thumb, to get your way in life,
Right. Yeah. So it sounded like, hey, you've got, as part of this book, some systems for people to discover a little bit about themselves to help in that process. Can you dive into that a little bit? Like what are what are these systems, or maybe tease them a little bit. What are these systems
Yeah, I
that you
don't.
teach
Yeah,
people about?
this will teach you a publisher school, right? Don't get it all the way, Brian.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just tease it.
So it's we already talked about one. I think the first set of thoughts you need to have is have an honest conversation with yourself about what are you good at, right? What are your values?
Mm-hmm.
Um, find some good friends and ask them, where have you seen me as my best?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the opposite, right? The yang is, where have you seen me at my worst? Right? Because we all are that person. Don't be afraid to ask that question. But then once you build that foundation understanding of your values, that's when I ask you to set your table. And we talked about the foundations already, so I won't go too deep in those. So everybody's got to sleep better. If anybody's having a hard time in life, go sleep an extra hour tonight and tell me you don't feel better tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I challenge everybody. Goes, okay, you're right, Brian. Nobody's sleeping enough. We're the only animal in the universe that doesn't sleep enough. When we want to be bigger and more powerful, we sleep less. No, we don't. Whenever I had to do a really hard mission, I try to get the best sleep. By the way, after you have a really great mission, the best way to consolidate your memories is you get a good night of sleep. Not bourbon and cigars, but sleeping, right? So it's things you learn over life. But then let's go past foundation. So you set your table personally, right? You cannot set your table in your relationships, in your professional life, or in your community if you don't set your table first as a person. And part of the big piece there is MIT study came out a couple years ago, says 85% of all initial thoughts are negative.
Wow.
Almost,
Wow.
yeah, 9 and 10, right? So what you got to realize is just because you think it, you do not have to believe it. We are part of the anxious generation that survived the saber-toothed tiger. We did that by being anxious and looking out and being who we are today. That does not mean you have to believe everything that pops in your head. And that's that's a huge part of setting your personal table. And then having the systems that tell you to go, even though it doesn't feel like you should, right? Those days, those run days, they're past me, but those days where you go, oh, every hero knows that he should go regardless of conditions. The harder it is, the more you should go. By the way, that's where you'll learn the best lessons in life, right? When you're really amped up and you're like worried, how are you going to go do this podcast? Oh my God, that whole thing. When you get yourself to calm down and you show up like a hero, there's your learning. You don't get great learning from successes. So those are the two big parts. And then I take that into your relationships.
Yeah.
I do it into professions, and we talked a lot about that. And then I take it to communities. I think that's in America specifically. I think we're missing our heroes in our communities. And if we could take one thing away from my book is let's have a ripple effect.
Yeah.
The beauty of life, right, is having a life of beauty. If you can raise another human up today, that's the golden rule in effect. Scale it, and we have a better world. It's not. I don't think it's strange. It just seems too simple to me sometimes.
Yeah. I am such a huge advocate for this idea of take care of yourself, set your table for yourself, like you're saying, then do it in your family, then do it for your community, right? Like I don't know where I got this idea from, but basically like a leader is somebody who has more to give than they need.
Right.
Right. But to your point, right? Like if you don't have a strategy there, are you getting the outcomes that you desired? Right.
Right.
And a lot of people have, I call it the wrong roadmap, right? They're working really hard and they're spending a lot of resources heading in the wrong direction.
That's right. it it'll if you broke it, it'll take twice as much effort to fix it in today's society.
Yeah.
But that's really interesting. You cued something in each of one of my foundations. Instead of sleeping for me, I'm sleeping to be a better person, to show a better for my family, for my community, for my teammates at work. Think
Yeah.
about how you change the narrative in your head. I eat better. I don't just eat better for me and for some dream of six-pack abs. I eat better because I show up better for me, for my family, for my community. Think about
Man.
it, kind of shifts your mentality. And most people, quite frankly, they can't slow down long enough to even think deeply. It's scary to me.
So two thoughts on that. One is I think that will resonate and does resonate to me personally, but I think broadly to the veteran population. Like
Yeah.
we're so service oriented, it's ridiculous. Like I I'll do anything for anybody besides myself.
That's right. Yeah. What I got to teach you is to take care of yourself in order to show up as that best version. That's, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You're
That
exactly right on top of
requires a shift in how we think about things.
it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I totally forgot what else I was going to say on that topic, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's it's a good mindset. I like it. So let me ask you maybe a tougher question here. What are the limits of strategy?
Well, strategy applied appropriately has no limits. The problem
Okay.
is that appropriately, and I don't know where I heard this from. I'll have to look it up. Strategy without character is
Mm,
just manipulation.
wow. Wow.
And think about that for a second. But if you do not have the character and the self-awareness and the discipline to apply your strategy well, with consistency, it's not going to come out right. It
Yeah.
just won't. It's very hard when you come from a military background because you get a taste of just about everything that's going on in the world, right? And
Yeah.
when you see things I'm not, it's things that are done out of order,
Mm,
right? Just out of order will get you, especially at the global scale, get you totally messed up. I don't
yeah.
want to talk about our current conflict, but how do we get there? And now, because just like I said, you went on, you went on that route that was wrong. It's going to be 2x the pain
Yeah.
to get back on track. And so that's where I think the biggest challenge of where does it have limits, right? If you don't apply the appropriate thinking strategically, yet you are going to try to apply strategy, you'll come out with something that it isn't strategy and is super hard to apply. And over time, some strategists come in and go, wait. Just because you said you did strategy doesn't mean it is strategy. Like most people, right? What isn't strategy? Planning is not strategy, and strategy is not planning. It isn't, right?
Yeah.
Plan is a list of actions. A strategy is a theory of how you win, whatever that winning is, right? Or how you compete at the highest level. And
Yeah.
those are two competing ideas, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. For sure.
yeah, it's free. Yeah, it's free.
Okay.
Yeah.
It reminds me of I'm a big Warren Buffett geek, right? Finance
Oh,
geek, Warren
yeah.
Buffett geek. But he's got this saying about like when he hires people, there's three things he looks for: character, intelligence, and work ethic, right? And he's like, if you don't have character, the last two will kill you, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather have somebody be dumb and slow with good character
That's
than
right.
right.
Yeah.
Oh man,
All those triplicates that come in life.
yeah.
So many. Fear, honor, and interest, another threesome, right? Fast,
Yep.
easy, and good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask a few questions about the book, right? Like who did you write the book for? Like when you started writing, like did you have a specific audience in mind?
Well, I mean, the first person I wrote the book for was for me, because I had all these ideas that I was accomplishing, and I was I mean, like everybody else, I had all these green notebooks and moleskins and laying around and all these ideas. And when they started coming together, in an application to my life, I went, wait a second. There actually is a through line. So first of all, was to get out of my head, all those frameworks that I learned, both in corporate America and in the Army, of course. But I really wrote for people who are stuck. And I articulate it as, you're living somebody else's life. You can't articulate, why you hustle so hard every day. And at some point, you're going to run out of gas. Everybody has a threshold. And so I wanted to say, hey, there is hope. The other one is veterans in transition. Almost every veteran I've ever spoken to comes at me like, Bri, how did you pull that off? And, a lot of times I was like, well, my first step out of the military, actually, while I got a great lessons out of it, great knowledge out of it, phenomenal teammates, and I'll know for life out of IBM, it wasn't the right step for me. Mm-hmm. So spend your time and know yourself. And then there's something inside of just about everyone that they know they're capable of more. And they know it. You know it in your heart. You can't just keep on grabbing a hot coffee to work and keep on jamming with somebody else's, metrics to try to be the best X that you're trying to be. Know who that is. What you're capable for is what the good Lord put you on this earth for. And I never had the framework. I mean, I had a lot of pieces of frameworks from here and there. And I just thought, well, it'd be super valuable if I could, if one person takes a leap into, to become the person they're capable of, I'm successful, man. I mean, you know this, right? I'm not looking to, I'd love to make millions off the book, of course, right? Yeah. But what I really want to do is show people, look, 1, there's hope. 2, there's a way. 3, if it isn't the way, please tell me, because I want to learn with you. Yeah. And I'll help you get there. Because, just like we said before, you'll put energy in the system. It's never going to go exactly as you plan. Yeah. Let's get that out there, right? Yep. There's no way. There's no way. Yeah. Talk to Eisenhower. Yeah. That plan didn't go so well, right?
No, certainly not.
Super.
I love it. All right. What's the book release date? Do you know at this point?
Okay, so this is interesting. So I built myself into a bit of a corner. Manuscripts, my publisher, we go as cohorts. So there's, I think there's 17 other authors with me. So we all will come out in May. We'll get it out in May. I'm trying to go earlier rather than later because there's lots of things happening in my life in May. All right. And then, so May is a launch. We've got a workbook up on setyourtable.kit.com. I'll give you that link if you want to see the teaser that includes those values and the foundations and stuff we talked about. And that's about it for now. We're the path is ebook and hard copy book or paperback, and then I will go into Audible creation. So I will go to a voice coach. I've been told I need a voice coach, and I'll create my book. And no, I'm not doing it with AI. I know I've had a company come at me and go, we can just produce your book with AI. We'll template your voice. And I'm like, no, I want me, authentically me, right? Reading my book. Maybe number 2, I'll do an AI version. I don't know.
Yeah. I've heard a lot about voice coaches, and I believe that there's value there, but not being like a very public personality. I've been like, I'll pass for now. Maybe some other thing will get me there.
Having a conversation is different than reading a book. That's what I've been told.
Oh, yeah, that's
so fair. When you read a book, you read for emphasis and knowledge, whereas we're just bounding ideas back and forth. 2 different, ideas.
Yeah, that's fair. So what's next for you, right? Like book launch is just a bunch of, trying to do PR for the book, or what comes next?
Yeah. So I am staying nimble on my feet. I would like the book to keep on going. I will go from the Audible book to a book tour. I have a 4-city book tour coming out. Be on the backside of July, 4th weekend. So Washington, D.C., New York City, San Diego, and then I don't know the fourth one yet.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
trying,
Well,
yeah, kind of like what I did with my cover. Tell me where I should go and present my book. Obviously, Austin. We'll land here in Austin, Texas, because it's my hometown. But those are already set. I'll get those out when I do my first, soft launch, and then we'll do a book tour this summer and into fall. Hopefully, get me in the right places and spaces to, give it a little more breadth and network.
Strong. I'll sprinkle in my unsolicited commentary here, but strong reason in my mind to do the Southeast. But personally, I would love Atlanta, but probably more practically, Tampa, Florida. You've got CENTCOM and everything right there at MacDill. That would probably be a good, that'd be a good audience.
Matter of fact, one of my last podcasts was with Chris Budahaus down there in Jacksonville.
There you go.
Great dude. Another retired colonel. So
love it. Cool, man. So where can people find you? What's the website?
Setyourtable.kit.com and setyourtable.substack.com take you to two different versions of this. One is just really the wait list and the workbook. The Substack is me commenting. I do a weekly tag into Substack. If you get on my authors list, I do a weekly newsletter that gives you the, what's coming next and when's a book coming out and all that stuff. We'll announce where we're going to do our first soft launch here in Austin. So
love it. I'm excited for it. I've signed up already.
Yeah,
I hope that the listeners jump in,
so much.
sign up. You really are. I don't say this lightly, but gosh, all my time in the military, time in corporate America, you're like probably top 5 in my opinion, strategic thinkers.
Sincerely appreciate that. And thanks for the time today, man. We need these conversations, and you've done it very well. So thanks for the platform, and thanks for you to spend the time with me today. It's been very, very treasurable.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for coming on Command Post Podcast. Until next time, take care.
Yep.
All right.
See you soon.